Alright, what's up guys, it's Zero here, and Overlord season just ended, so what better time is there to talk about Overlord the deck as a whole. So this deck right now is by far the most popular deck on ladder, so it is the deck to beat if you're playing ladder at all. So I'll just start by saying that some of my choices for this deck is highly dependent because of the amount of mirrors that you play if you do decide to play this deck. But we will get to that as we go over the deck list. So without further ado, let's take a look at the list. So quite the shiny list, but that's besides the point. So starter is obviously Conroe. There is still no reason to play any starter other than Conroe. CB1 to retire it, search for grade 1 is just really good. You grab obviously your PGs, you can grab both the new grade 1s, which are both actually really good, and then Stride Fodder if you really need it. But yeah, Conroe is still by far the best starter for Kagero, without question. There is literally no other starter nearly as good as Conroe right now. And then for grade 1s, next off we have one Stride Fodder. This card is just Stride Fodder because we're not playing any Blade Masters in that deck, because this deck wants as many Overlords as it can play. So no like one up Blade Master or anything like that. This is just here as a searchable Stride Fodder if you need it. So yeah, that's what just the one of. You realistically can be anything, but I think Stride Fodder is the thing that I've personally found to be the most useful. And then for our PG of choice here, we're actually playing Dumjid as opposed to like CCPG in other decks. So Dumjid's skill has Blaze. I don't know when or where that will ever be relevant, but it has Blaze. And then its skill is in hand GB1. When you PG with this card, if you have another copy of Dumjid in your drop, and the difference in power in that battle was 1500 or less, so if it was within heal guard range, you draw one. So immediately, let's just say your opponent hit you with like a giant van that knocked PG out of your hand, and then next they swing with like let's just say they poke with like an 11k rear, and you know heal guards in hand, Dumjid would proc, and then Dumjid would then activate and drop and draw you a card immediately. So it can sometimes replace itself, and sometimes that one cycle actually does matter because that one cycle is digging you closer to another guard, it's digging you closer to like a 6 heal, stuff like that. Reason I think this deck doesn't need CCPG is because of this grade 1 here, the General Conroe, which I guess we'll go over right now. So its first skill is on play from hand. You can discard one card from your discard 1 to search your deck for any grade 3 Overlord from your deck and add to your hand. So searches for your ride or any grade 3 you might want at the moment. And then other skill is if your Vanguard is an Overlord, you can retire Conroe to give that card your if your Vanguard is an Overlord, you can retire it as cost to give your Vanguard the skill on attack CC2. So if your Van is swinging multiple times, this will proc multiple times. So at worst, this is a CC2, which is exactly why I think you don't need the CC off of your PGs in this deck. And Dumjid's like very like niche usages sometimes does come up. I can definitely say I've been robbed by Dumjid, drawing you closer to a 6 heal. I can say I've robbed other people with Dumjid, drawing me closer to my heals. So just because I think because this deck doesn't really need the CC, I think Dumjid is actually probably the optimal PG for this deck. And finally, we went over Conroe. So finally, the last grade 1 is the Griffin. I don't remember what his full name is, but he is indeed a Griffin. But his skill is on place. If you can choose up to 2 Overlord that are not heal triggers and put them back into your deck. If you put 2, you can draw 1. So it recycles your triggers. There are definitely a lot of lists running around that place like stands in the deck because you can recycle triggers with this, which I think is fine. I personally, as you can see here, value just 9 draw because I think this deck does actually want the extra cards in hand in my opinion, so that's why I just stick with the 9 draws. But this card lets you play like wacky trigger ratios because you can recycle them. Like you can play like 1 or 2 on stand and then just save a copy of this for your end, for like your the turn you think you're gonna end the game. Slam it down, put like 2 stands back in your deck, and then you'll have a pretty like relatively compressed deck. You can have a higher chance of flipping those stands that you put back. So it's pretty close to that, but this card at the end of the day still recycle 2 triggers to draw 1. It's still really good. And then his other skills also really good is if you're paying the stride cost to stride into specifically an Overlord G unit, you can retire him on board as cost instead of ditching cost of grade 3 from hand to stride. So this card is on board stride fodder for Overlords, and then it recycles triggers. Second skill doesn't come too often just because of the like super heavy removal meta that we're in. This card probably just on place and then just dies the next turn, but if it lives, it can be stride fodder. But this card is mainly played for its recycle skill. So this card is really good. I think this is actually like one of the best cards in the deck, and I'm really surprised the card's only a rare, surprisingly. But yeah, this Griffin is very good. And my opinion for grade 1s, I think everything but the 1-up slot is relatively like set in stone. I don't think there's really a reason to tinker around with any of these. PG, I guess you can change up depending on preference, but I think these 12 slots are more or less like figured out. I think this deck should be playing 12 of these, 4 PGs, 4 Conroe, 4 the Griffin, 1 whatever. So yeah, so that's it for the grade 1s. And for grade 2s, we'll go over the immediate like stick out here is that I'm playing Striken. So Striken is a very, very old card. This is a set 4 card, I think. So his skill is restraint. So on Van it cannot attack, and then its skill, and then when you ride on top of it, this unit gets plus 5k, and the unit you rode gets plus 5k in a crit. So this card basically says like you don't do the damage with your band for that one turn, you get the damage back on the next turn. And the reason why I'm playing this is because I think this card is really, really strong in the mirror. Specifically going first. Obviously going second, you never want to ride Striken, because if you go second, you can stride first, meaning the thing you stride will lose the 5k crits, so lose the value there. So going second, ideally you never have to ride Striken, but going first, I think Striken is really, really good because in the mirror specifically is that Destiny has a on-play skill that's not G-blocked or anything. Soul Blast 1 when placed on Van or at the start of your turn, you can Soul Blast 1 to retire a unit, or choose a unit on a circle and retire it. So that would it lets you snipe their opposing Conroe while not losing out on damage because you denied them on the turn before. So I think that's really cool. Obviously you see I'm playing Dote in the deck as well, so you can do the whole funny with the Strike and Dote, which can come up because especially since you have Conroe into Conroe, you can just search out an extra Dote if you need it. So, and then retire the Conroe to get your CP back. So because of that, I think Striken has pretty cool uses there. And then in other matchups, going first, you can just like slam something, hit them, like stride Striken, slam a rear, hit them, and then on the next turn, if they slam out the intercepts and stuff, you can just ride the Destiny, pop one of their intercepts, and just go like face, and then you just push them to 4 immediately. You push them to 4, and the next turn you just try to kill on first stride. So I think what Striken offers to the deck is actually quite good, even outside of the mirror. I think Striken is pretty good. So that's personally why I am on 4 of it myself. If you personally don't value that, like, which I think is completely understandable, I think you should just play more Golems and play like a 1 of whatever. So yeah, so I personally really like Striken in the deck right now. I think it's more of a meta call than anything, since I'm because of why I'm playing it. But I think even outside of playing into like a bajillion mirrors, I think even then this card is still pretty solid in other matchups. And yeah, so that's why I'm playing that. And then next up, 1 Nahalem. So its skill is GV1. If your Vanguard is an Overlord, it gets plus 2k and the following ability. When your grade 4 or higher unit Vanguard attacks, he gets plus 5k. So if your Vanguard swing more than once, he gets plus 10, etc, etc. So just a solo attacker that also becomes a big beater, which is pretty nice. So we're playing 1 of him. And again, if you don't want to play Striken, I would personally recommend playing more Nahalems in the deck. I think Nahalem's still a really good card. Next up, we're playing 4 Glow Heater Dragon. So his skill is on play, Van and rear. If you don't have an Overlord in your hand, this unit gets if you don't have an Overlord in your hand or on your Vanguard circle, this unit loses 5k power. So basically, if you ride this card and you don't have an Overlord in hand, it becomes a 5k base for that turn, which really sucks. You do not gain that power back if you search an Overlord afterwards. You have to already have in your hand when you ride it. Basically, this downside only comes up on like turn 2 if you like or forced to ride it. You don't have an Overlord in hand, or you're calling it on turn 2. You don't have an Overlord in hand because turn 3 onwards you will always be on Overlord Vanguard. So this card will always be at least 10k base. And then its other skill is if you have a Vanguard, if you have specifically a grade 4 Vanguard that has Overlord in name. So Heart does not count. The stride you're on specifically has to be Overlord. So the grade 4 unit, like whatever you're striding into, has to have Overlord name for this effect to be active. But its skill is as long as you meet that criteria, this card gains 2k per damage in your opponent's damage zone. So either at 1 damage, this thing's a 12k, 2, 14, 3, 16, so on and so forth. So this card is a big beater. That's also a 10k base, 10k ride. So because of that, we're playing for this card because big body good. And finally, the last card is the Burning Horn. Is the Burning Horn Retrain, Burning Horn Evilite, I think, something like that. But its skill is on play. If your hand has an Overlord, you can Soul Blast 1 to choose 1 rearguard in the same column as this unit and retire it. So not G-blocked or anything. As long as you have an Overlord in your hand, you can Soul Blast 1 to retire something. And then his second skill is the same thing as the Glow Heaters. As long grade 4 named Vanguard, this thing gets plus 2k in your damage zone. So please plus 2k per card in your opponent's damage zone. So Another big chunky attacker, which is really nice. And yeah, so it has retire. It's a big chunky attacker, so it's good, pretty good. So that's it for grade 2. And finally for triggers, heal guards are heal guards. I am playing 4 Dote. Crossfire doesn't matter because we're not playing any base deals in this deck. On hit, CB2, Persona Blast, restand as soon as draw 2. So again, this card can do the cool, funny thing with striking, where you just push your opponent for a bunch of damage in one turn. But realistically speaking, I don't think these last 5 Overlord slots matter at all. I think you can play whatever you want here. Some lists play the Great, but my issue with the Great is that you're forced to slot in Neoflame, which I don't think is a very good card. So that's why I'm personally not playing it. Some lists play more the Cross, which I think is perfectly valid. I think playing more the Cross is fine too, but I personally don't really care for the Legion part of it. I just treat the Cross as like a 5th copy of like Dote or Legion if I really want it to be there. So that's why I'm only playing thing like this. I do think that cool like strike and Dote thing on turn 3 is pretty cool and a pretty nice sentence that huge tempo swing can just win you the game. So that's why I'm personally just playing the 4 Dotes and then the 1 the Cross just to fill in the last slot as an Overlord name. It Legions with the Dote, and then on Legion discard 1. Search your deck for things with something with the same name as something on your Vanguard circle. So in this case, it would only be Dote because we don't play another copy of the Cross in the deck. If you really wanted to make use of the Cross, I would recommend playing a 2-3 split of 2 the Cross, 3 Dotes. But I think that's all up to you. And then when you don't hit CV1, Persona Blast to retire 2. So yeah, so that's it for that. And for the filler slots, and finally the main ride you always want to be on is the Destiny. So the Destiny skill is on place. I wouldn't really put on place or at the beginning of your turn, or beginning of your ride, actually. Beginning of something, but basically before you ride, or before you have the option to ride, Soul Blast 1 to choose a circle other than the Vanguard circle and retire the unit on that circle. So the important thing to note here is that it targets a circle, meaning it gets over resist, but because it is still retiring, it does not get over anti-retire. So basically, you can just read this one as Soul Blast 1, retire 1, gets over resist, does not get over anti-retire. And then its other skill is when you stride anything on, doesn't have the Overlord named or anything, CB1 retire on your opponent's rear guards, then check top 7 and add an Overlord from among them to your hand. So yeah, you can have nothing to retire and still use the skill to retire. Is not tied to the search or anything. And yeah, just overall really solid card because even though you are repping grade 3s out of your deck, it is still a +3, and there is definitely a card in your G zone that wants Overlord names. So this second skill is very good. So yeah, Overlord Destiny just clears out 2 cards by himself. He can clear both intercepts. Soul Blast 1 every turn, kill 1, CB1 hop the other one. If you need to get over double resist when going for games, you can just re-ride. You can go start a turn, pop 1, and then re-ride, and that you can use that one to pop the other resist. So this deck has ways around double resist, so that's also a reason why I'm not playing the original Overlord in the deck. And yeah, Destiny is just a card that does a lot for the deck, and probably the reason why the deck functions so well. And finally, the G zone. So we'll go over the old stuff first. So first off, I'm not going to bother with harmonics. The thing's in every deck. 3 Titan, because CB1, if you pop or something, you draw, pop retire, still pretty solid. Sometimes you go into Titan instead of Purge, which is now basically your main stride, if you just need cards in hand. So 3 Titans, I would play 4, but Drachma I think is quite good in this deck, so that's why before I got the Drachma, I did play a 4th Titan here. So if you can't get Drachma for whatever reason, I would recommend playing 4 Titans in the slot, or a 2nd Ziegenberg if you have it. Whatever for the slot. 1 Ziegenberg. So the reason why I'm playing 1 Ziegenberg is because realistically speaking, your soul is basically used every turn for a Destiny skill. So you're already you already don't have too much soul to begin with, and because of that, I don't really see a point in playing a second copy for Ziegenberg's Persona flip to pop a rear. I think Destiny does more than enough in terms of popping rears for popping rears to begin with. So that's why I'm not playing the Persona right. I don't think you would need it, or the Persona in the G zone, because I don't think you need the retire off of this. And then GB3, as long as you're in Blaze, CB1 ditch equal to the number of rears, empty rearguard your opponent's circles. Ditch 1 equal to the number of rears your opponent has to restand, drive -2. So just the restander, pretty nice. And the reason we're not playing 2 to get 2 restands is because we're also playing the Ace. The Ace skill is card. This card has not been played in a lot of decks recently. It's here for a very specific niche, which I will go over. So skill is GB2 once per turn, CB2, and G Persona flip to get -1 drive in the following ability. Once per turn, At the end of the attack, you can discard 2 cards from your hand. One card being half. One card must be an Overlord named card to resend and draw 1 gets +5. So the reason we are playing the Ace over like more Ziegenbergs, because if you just look at it on paper, Ziegenberg is a better restander because it's cheaper. But the reason we're playing the Ace as one of our restand options is because he has Overlord name. If your opponent's at 5, Ziegenberg plus like your rears are usually, let's just say you empty their entire board out because they don't have anything too much to begin with. You just laying down like 2 rears, 2 columns, and you just go like rear van. That's like 2 heals, 2 healer checks, and 2 PG checks, which is not the hardest thing to have. Maybe 3 PG checks if you check enough triggers for 1 column to hit over heal guard. But with the Ace, because you're on Overlord name, Glow Heater and Burning Horn are now giant chonkers that, as long as they have a booster behind them, the Glow Heater needing a 6k booster, a Burning Horn needing a 7k booster, assuming they're at 5, you will have 4 PG checks from 5, because the Ace will always be asking for PG because of how it's just a giant van, and then the rear columns will always be like 26, 27 hitting into face. So because of that, the Ace is here because it is Overlord name, meaning these 2 things are also really, really big on that turn. So that's why we're playing 2 the Ace, 2 Novell, because sometimes that guard restrict for game is still pretty good, and I just want to make sure they don't 6 heal. So 2 Novell there, and then finally for the new stuff, we're playing 2 the Purge. So the Purge skill is once per turn, if your opponent has 4 or less damage, you can flip anything your Geno face up. So this is why we don't need like 4 of it or anything. This thing flips anything. So usually on your first ride, you just flip Titan. So you want to go Titan next turn, you already have one face up. When you flip anything, and you choose one card from your hand with Overlord and put it into your soul to ping your opponent 1 damage. So deal your opponent 1 damage, and for that damage, all trigger effects are nullified. So it's a ping that stuffs triggers effects. So really, really good there. Really good for pushing damage. And then its GB3 skill is this card's drives are equal to the number of cards in your opponent's damage zone. So if your opponent's at 4, you get 4 drives. If your opponent's at 5, they get 5 drives. So yeah, this card is just really good because it's a very strong tempo card, because you just put an Overlord to soul to ping them a damage. Say to the round 3, you ping them to 4, and then like your rears are probably really big because of Glow Heater and Burning Horn. So you can probably comfortably check. Most of the time, you can comfortably check for like 1 or 2 guard checks from 3 on first ride. So that's really good there. And we play a second one in case we want to go into it more than once. And then finally, the last card in our G zone is the Drachma. He is the Zeroth Dragon for Dragon Empire. Ultimate Stride, which is not a hard cost for this deck to get because you have the Griffin to recycle Overlords, and you have Destiny to search your Overlords. So Ultimate Stride is not very hard for this deck. And so on play, CB2 retires your opponent's entire board and bind everything, Vanguard included. And then your opponent rides 1 card at random with the highest grade in their hand and ride it, and then at the start of the turn, you discard 2. And then the whole thing with Zeroth Dragons, if you don't kill them that turn, your G zone goes bye-bye. But that's whatever, because when you're going for this card, your goal is probably just to cripple them as hard as possible or just kill them outright. And even if you cannot kill them on that turn, this deck has a bunch of stuff that is not GB locked, so you can still have follow-up for next turn. Like Burning Horn isn't GB locked, Destiny isn't GB locked, so yeah. Drachma is a very good finish for the deck, and I personally do recommend that if your goal is to play this deck, I do recommend exchanging or opening 150 packs to get the Drachma for the deck. I think Drachma is a very, very good win condition, so yeah. So that's it for the deck profile, and I'll have some games for you guys right now. So I'll see you guys there. So for our first game, we are playing against Messiah, and we are going first, and we open that really, really cool combo of Strike and Dote. I'm just like, alright, let's just keep it, because we open literally every piece, no need to search anything. So that is really nice there. So here I think this is one of the games where I do actually get to show off why this combo specifically is can actually be game winning. So not early game, you don't really do much because again, this is still a Dragon Empire deck at the end of the day. You don't like +2 too hard. So most of the time you just like ride swing pass, answer the rears if you have to. But it's like actually does have a Burning Horn to push if you really need to early game. Just so last one's on one in hand to pop in there, so you just go face twice. That's pretty cool there. So my opponent also just ride swings pass, which is whatever. Yeah, I take a damage, and then next turn we are definitely riding strike, even if we draw another grade 2, and we do not. So just ride. This hand is very unplayable in terms of playables in hand. We just have 2 dotes and 4 guards, so definitely not a whole lot of reason to do anything here. Just ride the strike and call it a day. Probably just pass here. I think not a whole lot you can do. Yep, I did not do anything. So and because you're on a 10k base, most decks can't like comfortably scale and aggro you on a 10k base. So that's also a very nice plus to riding a strike in, is that because you are so big, your opponent can't really hit you with it. Hit you that well, rather. I think a better way to say it. So here we drop the Conroe. I think here I decide to use the Conroe to search for a copy of the Destiny for the re-ride for the next turn, because even though this is a cool play, you do always want to be on the Destiny. So here I ditch the Heal Guard, search for the thing, and then retire the Conroe to get the CC skills so I actually use the dope. And here we are taking full advantage of the free Heal Guard we got for going first from the Harmonics. We tossed one for cost, and now we slammed down another one as a booster for this. And here we try to deck this guy to 4 with dote. So I double blank, but I'm pretty sure my opponent also did not hit a single defensive. So never mind, he hit one defensive. So here we do dote, and we're on a 1 pass here. Something else to note with dote is that it's really good because if you do this, if you just do dote, you set yourself up really well with the Griffin, because you use the Persona Blast with one dote and drop, and then when you ride the Destiny, you can Soul Blast out the other dote to get the 2 over and drop that you need to actually draw with the Griffin. So that's also a plus to going for this. So here we're on a 1 pass, and you also get to see that Conroe CC's twice here, because I CC'd 1 on the first swing and CC'd 2 on the second swing. So we get the 1 pass, we just push him to 4, and we refunded all our CB, so it's very, very nice there. And we left a minimal amount of cards on our board for him to lock. Now here, at most, we lose like the Heal Guard as a booster for a turn, so it's kind of whatever there. So here, my opponent is at 4, and probably wanting to end the game as fast as possible, goes to Flagellant, but Messiah doesn't actually have like too good of like a first ride push turn unless you're on like some relatively jank stuff. So here we're at 2, we're honestly in no danger of dying. We're at 2 with 5 cards in hand, so yeah. No danger of dying here. We'll just quickly skim over our opponent's turn. So yeah, he does whatever he does. I blank 2 heals apparently, and yeah. We go to 4, and here we go into the... So you see here, I did Destiny's on ride to pop one of the intercepts. So, so here we stride the Purge. We pop the Arrestor, pop the Intercept, check top 7, add a Overlord to hand, put that Overlord into Soul to ping him to 5. Yeah, as you can see here, flip Titan's usually your ideal first flip, sometimes you have Harmonics or whatever, but usually Titan's your ideal first flip on that, and slam down 2 giant chonkers that are all guard check, that are all enough. So here, 1 check, 2 check, he didn't even have, he had 1 whole guard in hand, and he just died. So I think this game was a game that very much showed off what Strike and Dote can actually do for this deck. If they don't heal down and they like stay at 4, or sometimes even 5 if you like push them a damage on your first turn. Strike and Dote can very much just lead to lethal on the next turn, because Purge, as long as they don't heal down, that 5th damage will never be a heal, because you'll nullify the heal effect. So they'll be at 5, and as long as you have 2 columns that can hit for like 16, which you're playing 8 scalers in the deck that actually hit for 16 by themselves. Hitting for 3 guard checks on first ride is very, very nice, and sometimes they just die because of it. So you saw what the deck can do there, and even if you don't do specifically Strike and Dote, even if you just go like let's say you hit them on like your grade 2 turn, and then the next turn you just extend out Intercept, have a booster, and you just ride Destiny instead, you're still pushing them to 4, because you dealt 1 damage, and then Rear will do 2, and then the giant crit Van will do 2 more, so they still be at 4. So even without Dote specifically, you can still pull off a play similar to this. Just need like different cards on the board for that. So I think that game really shows off the value of what Striking can actually do. And onward to the second game, which we'll quickly skim over. Getting ransacked by Maelstrom, who I just bricked. So let's quickly go over that. And here we will play against Savas. My previous video was against Savas, and if you watch the video, you'll know my thoughts on this deck. I think Savas is a very, very good deck, and one of the best decks in the game right now. So here, I didn't put the Dote back because I was like, oh, I have the Strike in, maybe I can draw the other Dote, you know? So at worst, the Strat Fodder, so not the worst thing in the world to just, like, try to, like, maybe, like, greedy mulligan for the Dote. So here, just ride the Stride Fodder, call Conroe, wherever. I think here I called Conroe off to the side because Aquaforce can't really retire the Conroe, and if I just don't want to use it because I want to dote for whatever reason on the next turn, if I just like draw one or whatever, I can like keep the Conroe on the board and slam a different booster behind the van that like scales bigger or just isn't the Conroe. So yeah, that's probably why I put the Conroe there. But for the most part, especially in the mirror, Conroe should always go behind van because Burning Horn can kill the Conroe otherwise without you can kill the Conroe otherwise without the opponent having to do like really weird stuff like slam like a Burning Horn behind van, which it's something that you do occasionally. Which is something you can do. It's something that I do sometimes if I see like a Conroe on the board and I want to kill it off. So yeah, that is also a play you can do in the mirror. If, going first, you can snipe their Conroe by slamming a Burning Horn behind van. I don't personally recommend it, but it is a play that's there if you feel like you want to do it. And so here, just ride past. This deck can't really like aggro too well anyways because LOL 10k base, so there's a limit how much you can do. If he wants to actually hit me for more than one, he has to actually commit stuff to the commit like a whole column to one of the sides. Which Aquaforce doesn't really want to do, they don't really want to commit early. So when it hits the trigger, I blink, and here we don't have the dote, so I think I just go for the Destiny. I actually don't remember if I actually went out of my. Oh, I guess I did. So here you can see here you can go out of your way to set up a dote. You Conroe for the Conroe, and then the Conroe will get you the dote, and then you retire the Conroe for cost to get your CB back. So I just ditch a copy of an extra copy of Destiny. Use Conroe, and then just slam a heal behind van because I want a booster for it. And here, unfortunately, I heal out of the dote. So yeah, this is always a risk you have to take when going for this. If you're exactly 2 damage, is that you run into the risk of healing out of the dote. And here, unfortunately, my opponent also heal, so I can't. Not only can I not go for the dote, I only dealt 1 damage this turn. So it actually puts me super behind on this turn, which really sucks. But here you'll see another alternate win con for this deck, which we will slowly get to. We will slowly get to here. So quickly skim through my opponent's turn. He goes for Commander Savas, plays the crits for whatever reason. So yeah, he pushes me for like 3 damage there, I think, which really sucks for me. No defensives, anything at all. And then here, definitely rewrite the Destiny to pop the resist. And here, I think, yeah, here I just went for Titan, try to draw more cards, draw more intercepts, draw more guards. And I think I actually did draw one, so here I just don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. So then, oh yeah, and here you can also see that these things don't get power since I'm not on an actual Overlord stride. So I do have to heal, so that's really nice there. So I don't just completely each and die Alexandros on the next turn. Yeah, so we go through this. Yeah, so my turn is done. He goes for Alexandros, try to push here. And yeah, so he burns through all his CB. So I here I'm like, oh cool, he burned through all his CB. I'm definitely dead if I give him a single CB here yeah. So what did he actually do in his last turn? So he he had to burn CB onto scale. So here you notice that I am very much dead to Alexandros if I give him even 1 open CB to play with. So here I just Titan, try to draw cards, and figured out that I didn't draw any intercepts. So here I just swing rear pass. So here my opponent doesn't really have that many cards in hand either. So there's a limit to how much they can do, especially since they have no CB. There is definitely a limit to how much they can actually hit me, even though I have no intercepts. I have 4 guards in hand, so I'm just praying that one cannot kill me here. And next turn is where we go for our alternate win condition. So here I think my opponent just like vanilla. They just vanilla shot a title board and just swung once at me. So they probably just had a bunch of guards in hand and couldn't really like commit any playable. So I think I guard checked once here. He didn't really do a whole lot this turn. He just basically strided and swung. And here is where we go into our very shiny ZR. So I don't need to use anything here. We do have extra copy of Destiny in hand, and this was the win con that I was playing for because immediately after my first turn where I dealt 1 damage, I was like, I'm super behind it. I do not think I can actually kill them because I give them any amount of open CB, I will just die to Alexandros. He can have like the shittiest board on the board, but as long as he can hit me with the stuff, Alexandros will make all the rears restand for really big numbers. So here, the instant on that turn 3 where he burnt all his CB, I'm like, alright, cool. This guy played himself into a corner. I can just deny him for, I do nothing for a turn. Hope that he doesn't have a way to kill me. I think the scariest thing I was scared of on that turn where I just had no intercepts was Lambros, because Lambros can do everything for free. But he didn't go into it, so I was safe there. So I was like, okay, cool, we'll stall out a turn, don't give them the damage. And here we'll go for Drachma to just cripple him completely, because here Drachma, he has 4 cards in hand. He loses 3 of them because he's forced to re-ride here. To repeat, is pretty cool. So here, there's no board to get retired, but we do retire his van. So that dies, and apparently the highest grade in his hand was a grade 1. So I forced him to ride a PG here, which is really funny. So at this point, I'm like, alright, cool. Doesn't matter, I have no intercepts in hand. At most, he rides the 2 on the next turn. He's still on a 1 pass. He's just dead next turn. So here I just land down a bunch of stuff. I'm actually scaling all my columns too. So like swing. I think it's a draw here. It doesn't even matter because he has no hand to begin with, and he can't do anything on the next turn either. Here we go for as many guard checks as we can get. So we got the 1 guard check here. I think he double heal guarded this attack because I am swinging for a big number. So his hand was when I drafted him was probably like double heal guard grade 1 PG or something like that. So rode the PG, got double heal guarded, and then at the start of the turn you'll see Dracula forced me to discard the last 2 cards on his hand. And you also got to see me lose my entire G zone, but that's whatever because this game is basically over already. So start of his turn, he discards the last 2 cards in his hand. And he ditches a So his hand was the start of the turn was probably like PG double heal stride fodder. The Algos was probably off the draw because otherwise he would have rode the Algos. So his hand was probably like double heal guard stride fodder PG. So he just rode the PG for being forced to ride the PG. So he draws 1. He's on a PG. He just swings past. Like even if he got the 1 pass there, he'd just be asking it for heal guard, and he's just dead next turn. Yeah, so this game is very much over. I don't really need my G-Zone for anything. He's on a fucking grade 1 6K. And here I'm just like, oh, why not? Let's just ride the cross just to legion my stuff back. Why not? Yeah, so we legion, and game's over. We just poke him in the face like once or twice, and he just dies here. Yeah, this is that's definitely extra, and I could just swung and passed, or I swung and the game would have been over. He can heal all he wants, even if you had 2 hits left in deck, which he just didn't. So yeah, so there, I think that showed off what this deck, well, a variety of things what this deck can do. Showed off how I think it showed off the value of why I think striking is good. It showed off the purge just being a good card to just ping your opponent, just get like 2 to 3 checks in on first stride, and then there it showed off what Drachma can do for this deck. It can give you like an out to win the game in a situation where you basically have no right to win, because I think if I just didn't Drachma him and I just let him, like, if I like, let's just say I played it safe for that 1 turn, I just didn't give him damage. He checks me once, vanilla check. I try to go for a game. He definitely had the guards needed to live there, and he would have hit like a draw into a piece as well. So even if I didn't Drachma them there specifically, I most definitely would have died to Alexandros on the follow up, because all he would really need is like 2 things that can swing, and I would die to that. So yeah. So yeah, so that's it for the games for this deck. Again, this deck is very popular. You know, I definitely expect, if you're playing global, definitely expect to see this deck a lot on lighter. But tell me guys what you think about this deck down in the comments. Like and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.